This is ITV.
Certainly the best.
Nigeria faces a severe housing crisis marked by significant deficit and high costs, particularly for lower middle income earners. The housing deficit is estimated to be at least 20 million units, with an additional 5.5 million people needing housing each year, requiring at least 550,000 new houses annually. This deficit is compounded by high housing prices and rents, which have increased faster than general inflation, making it difficult for many Nigerians to afford adequate housing. Nigerians' housing deficit is substantial, with estimates ranging from 20 to 28 million units, according to a real estate expert estimate. How housing prices and rent, especially for low and middle income individuals, are major barriers to accessing adequate housing. A lack of viable mortgage system and high interest rates hinders home ownership, particularly for those in lower income brackets. The housing crisis has led to the growth of informal settlements with substandard living conditions. Rising costs of building materials such as cement further exacerbate the problem. Nigeria's housing sector faces a multifaceted crisis. Addressing this requires a multi-pronged approach that includes government intervention, private sector participation, and innovative financing solution to make housing accessible and affordable for all citizens, according to the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development.
Let me just speak of Benin City, where I reside. You see, the menace of agents has become a menace. Agent is something that is known because they help you to, you may not be able to go around the town to look for houses that are vacant and all that. So these agents are supposed to, bring people who will come. They know all the houses that are supposed to be free. They're supposed to be like a liaison, a middleman between the tenant and the landlord. And in those days, they used to possibly collect 10% of whatever you are going to pay as your annual rent. But I want to tell you that these people are not even collecting more than God. God in the Bible collects 10% as tithes. I can tell you for free that this agent now, they collect as much as 30%. The landlord would have told them they will ask you for agent fee. They will ask you for agent fee 30% of what you are paying. Then they will ask you for caution fee. They will ask you for agreement fee. And to be very honest with you, in many cases, this caution, these agreement fees, they don't even go to the landlord. Is there a law governing agents in this country? I really don't know. This is something that the government may need to look into, because these agents, they are devil's agents. They are frustrating tenants.
20% of rent from the prospective tenants is unreasonable. So by the time you add those figures, those unreasonable figures to the already built up costs, it makes it scary. So a lesser standardized percentage might be acceptable. It's not just to make policies, it's another thing to also enforce the policies. The property market can be regulated, not in a way to hurt the agents in a way, but to curb the excesses. Because if you also look at it, like I said, there are positive and negative sides. We're also encouraging them. You are keeping people off the streets, you are giving them jobs, okay? But we want to regulate how, or we want them to regulate to what extent they make property accessible to others. So a fair pricing system can be encouraged. The agency business can be standardized. Consultation between the government and the stakeholders on a fair price can also work.
This housing problem is being compounded by both professional and non-professional estate agents, popularly known as house agents in some clime, making houses to be very expensive for the masses. A person who sells and rents out buildings and land for clients, an estate agent or a realtor. The journey to finding a suitable rental property or accommodation in Nigeria is often fraught with challenges in cities like Lagos and Benin City. Navigating the murky waters of rental practices dominated by estate agents or house agents is unprecedented. Prospective tenants find themselves ensnared in a wave of unexpected fees, especially for house inspection, leading to frustration and financial strain. Some agents will ask as high as 30,000, 25,000, 20,000, 10,000 or 5,000 depending on the area.
It's alarming with the rate these persons are going. Some of them are very greedy. They take advantage of tenants in certain properties. A situation whereby an agent is demanding more than 10% from you, that is criminal. I know some states they allow more than 10%, but to my best of my knowledge, Edo State, the standard is 10%. That's what an agent should collect. Then, as a tenant, if you are paying for a rent for any property, ensure to ask. Let them give you a breakdown. They shouldn't just tell you 1.5 million, 2 million for a property and you just pay. No, even if you have the money. You are not the only person that will be renting house. Other persons, because once you make this thing a norm, make it a norm, it will become a standard. Before you know, every other person will be seen as a normality. So I will advise potential tenants, when you want to get a place, ensure you ask them, let them give you a breakdown. They should tell you the amount for the rent. They should tell you the amount for if there's a legal fee. They should tell you the amount for the agency. Like I said, standard 10% is fair enough. Then if there's a caution fee, they should tell you. Any other fees, service charge as well, maybe managing the place in terms of light bills and utilities, that's my service charge. Any other fee or bills outside any of these that I've just enumerated, it is illegal and it is criminal.
What they do, they will make it difficult for tenants to take your house. Number one, they will go and put different fees. They will do agreement for the landlord that owns the house. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And they will shield the tenant from you. Not until he enters your house, you will even know your tenant. So the person that's coming to take your house, and that can put the owner of the house in jeopardy, and they can give him problem, because as the owner of the house, I need to know who's coming to my house, but they will shield the person. And the different fee they collect from intended tenants or tenants is too much. At times they say caution fee. They will tell you this fee, that fee, that fee. So I understand in a house that somebody went to rent, they made him to pay 200,000 naira caution fee, agent fee, this fee, that fee. Jehovah, for my house, on my head. And it is high time government begin to regulate their activities. Some time ago, Lagos government have to climb on these agents, and it's high time that those state government come out and look at this thing holistically. Because I saw a house that somebody went to rent, 2-bedroom flat, 1.2, 1.4 million in this building. And that is outrageous. An agent collected up to 100 or 200. Or that's so much. As they say, 800,000 for one parlor and a room. Jesus. So, number one, they are responsible to an extent for astronomical increase in house rent. Number two, they also cause problem between landlord and tenants. In that, before a tenant gets to your house, you don't know it, or you will just come there and say, this is my new tenant. Whereas if you had interviewed the person, maybe you wouldn't have given him your house in the first place. And number three, they are also making things difficult for the tenant themselves. A tenant that went to hustle for 150,000 to rent room and parlor, you come and give him other bills, then he will not be able to get this thing. So,
missed and the need of owning a property of your own, because the way some of our agency are taking it now is just somehow the agent will just skyrocket some locations and tell you this is how much they are giving this location. For instance, now we needed an apartment in, let's say, Uselu, Gbowo, Saple Road houses. The owner might just say, okay, let me give it lesser price, but the agent will place that property in their care. We just say, no, this is what they are renting in this location. This is how much we used to give property, 2-bedroom flat, 3-bedroom flat, as the case may be, a room and a parlor, unit self-contained, as the case may be. They can say, okay, this is what we are giving in this location. This is what we are giving. But that is not in the mind of the original owner of the building. So That's the reason why we are urging all the agents, we call them freelancers at a time. In all, they are called agents. Those agents, please just take it easy with our citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because most of us, it's not that easy to just school out the money. You hear some persons will just say, okay, this house per annual is 600k, as the case may be. It will just say, okay, now agency is 450,000. It's not encouraging. It's scaring people away out of the city of Benin. So we are using this medium to encourage our agents to make sure, please and please, take it easy with our people in the city of Benin. They are supposed to be regulated by the state or the federal government of Nigeria. There should be a punishment, but not now, because there is no law guiding them. It is when the Edo State government now decide, or the House of Assembly now decide to say, okay, let us look for a way to fix it. Then they cannot say, okay, now we are going to pass a law. If there is no law, there will be no offender. So that's the reason why, not until we have a law that is guiding this set of people, this set of persons, this body, then there can never be an offender.
Searching for a home in Nigeria has become a frustrating ordeal as many prospective tenants face an uncertainty reality. Estate or house agents demanding hefty fees for limited property viewing, while leading clients to properties are often failed to match that requirement. This exploitative practice, as investigation revealed, doesn't just drain finances but leaves tenants feeling trapped and misled. As a housing crisis deepens, the integrity of Nigeria's real estate market seems to be teetering on shaky ground.
We have some issues with them. Some of them, they jack up the rent for certain houses beyond even what is prevailing in that area, because each area has its own rental value. But they jack up the prices, and there are two things about this. It makes it impossible for people who would have afforded the house normally not to get a house. And then secondly, the landlord is deprived of rent for the period he's waiting for somebody to take up the house, not at his price, but at the agent's price. And some of these agents, they are not appointed as agents by certain landlords. They just go to a house that is empty. They just take the picture and they put it on their platform, and then they advertise it as a house. And then some, they collect rents, and then they start looking for a house for the intending customer. So while they are running around, that intending customer is in pain. So these are some of the unwholesome practices of some of the agents. And some people collect money, and at the end of the day, they don't give the customer a house, and they cannot even refund the money. And sometimes you take them to the police station and they start refunding the money in bits and pieces instead of the lump sum that was given to them. I think the activity should be regulated, honestly. And some of them do the work of agents, they do the work of barristers or solicitors who are supposed to write agreements. Some of them write agreements, and some of them steal the stamp of the lawyer, and they are fixing there and just put that in signature. We have had many of these issues, and I hope that the government and even the professional body of estate valuers and agents will look into this issue.
There's a lot of deficiency in the areas of housing in Edo State. Why do I say that? Is that the cost of housing is being affected because of the demand. You can see in some areas, the very moment construction is being done in any building, before that building is completed, some persons have already made payment for that building. That is to show that the demand of rentage is very high. People need this property, they are desperate in need of it. And because of that, there is now inflation in the cost of housing. The landlord, there is no regulatory system to regulate the cost of building per areas or per environment or per the size of the building. So landlord just wake up to put a fixed price on their property the way it suits them. Just because maybe the next street there's a certain price the landlord are charging, so they now build their home, they will just give it price higher than the other one. because the number of persons that is asking for the property during the construction is high. To be honest, the agents in Edo State, their activities are very, very terrible. So I believe the government and the judiciary, they have to step in. Because, for example, there is a time that the NBA, they come together and they said that there is a fixed price for the lawyer. The lawyers has a fixed price, maybe 5%. If it's above so amount, it's 2.5%. So there's still room for you to negotiate with your lawyers. All these are professionals. They have their own regulatory bodies. And also the government has to step in, because roadside agents will just give fixed price. Sometimes they are even trying to aim higher than the owners of the property. You will see a property for 1 million naira. Agent will tell you that agent fee is 300,000 naira. You don't know how much they buy block. You don't know how much they sell sand. You don't know how much they sell cement. You are even trying to share the same profit with the owner of the property. So the government have a lot of work to do. First of all, let all agents be profiled, and let there be a regulatory amount on their charges that will not affect the tenant. Because when it's becoming too high, you will see that it will also affect the economy of the environment, that people will be shifting away from renting us. We don't want a situation of what we are experiencing in some states like Lagos, where people are not staying under the bridge.
The cost of renting a 2-bedroom flat is 400,000, but you see some persons who happen to be agents telling you to pay 700,000. That is to say, they are collecting extra 300,000, and you ask them, what are they doing? Just because they know the owner of the house. It is that time the government and the collective effort of landlord will bring together to make sure that this problem is salvaged. You'll be so surprised that in the first 1 year you are going to pay 700,000 for 3-bedroom flat. They will tell you subsequently you are going to pay 400,000 or maybe 500,000. What are you giving the 200 or 300,000 to one man sitting on his own? What is the work of this man? Just to bring a link between the owner of the house and the tenant. To me, it's outrageous. We are having this problem, and the painful thing is there is nothing like soon they will understand that they are evil. Sorry to say, I will say it. Some of them, not all, are evil. You are collecting outrageous money from people, 300,000. Or some will tell you 20% rate. If I am to rent a house for 1 million, 20% will be 200,000. Waiting the happen.
In a nation where access to comfortable and secure housing is a fundamental need, a disturbing trend has emerged. Estate agent or house agent exploiting the desperation of prospective tenants to maximize profit. Many house hunters, desperate to secure a suitable home, pour time and money into multiple inspections only to be shown properties that fall far short of expectations, whether due to poor location, subpar amenities, or prices widely exceeding their budgets. This troubling pattern has drained and has tainted what should be a straightforward house hunting experience, turning it into a frustrating cycle of financial strain and unmet promises. Some agent will promise you won't pay until they secure an apartment for you. It's a lie. Once they collect your money and send you listing you can't even consider, then they disappear once you reject a few options. The financial bleeding doesn't stop these housing agents into collecting commission on every rent paid, further compounding the financial burden of prospective tenants. Why agents are often viewed as primary culprits, finding a review that landlords are equally complicit in this exploitative web. Many landlords, fully aware of agents' dubious tactics, deliberately channel prospective tenants through these middlemen, knowing it will pile extra charges on renters. Though this arrangement may seem like a convenient way to streamline tenant selection, it raises serious ethical concern around transparency and fairness. By relying on agents who extract inspection fees without proper accountability, landlords indirectly fuel a system where tenants are financially drained and disillusioned even before securing a home. Across social media platforms, a storm of outrage has erupted from victims of this exploitative racket. The Numerous posts recount experiences of exorbitant inspection fees levied under false pretense that left prospective tenants drained and demoralized. Many describe these drawn to properties through glossy, deceptive listing only to meet with vastly different realities during physical inspection. Shabby apartments, noisy environments, and poor maintenance often replace the pristine visual showcased online, sparking frustration and heartbreak for those desperate to secure a home. Beyond financial strains, the emotional toll is undeniable. Tenants feel trapped in a system skewed heavily in favor of landlords and agents, an ecosystem where renters' vulnerability is exploited while accountability remains elusive. Adding another disturbing layer to this crisis is the revelation that some landlords or their relatives now disguise themselves as estate agents or house agents to exploit tenants directly. This deception strategy bypasses professional intermediaries, allowing landlords to pocket inspection fees while maintaining a false image of legitimacy. Another deceptive tactic haunting the rental space involve fake house agents who lure desperate tenants with suspiciously low inspection fees. Operating without legitimate listing, these scammers flood social media with eye-catching property art, targeting vulnerable renters searching for affordable homes. Once a tenant shows interest, the demand varying fees for property inspections, often without having any real properties available. Some victims report being taken to random buildings with no rental vacancies or properties in their conditions unfit for living. These con artists thrive in a dangerously unregulated market where anyone can pose as a real estate professional without credentials. The allure of quick, easy profit often overshadows the lasting damage inflicted on already struggling families in need of homes. By posing as agents, they lure unsuspecting tenants into believing they are dealing with professionals, not the property owners themselves. Some even create fake online profiles or use aliases to maintain this illusion. Another deceptive tactic haunting rental space involve fake house agents who allure desperate tenants and suspiciously low inspection fee. Operating without legitimate listing, these scammers flood social media with eye-catching property ads targeting vulnerable tenants searching for affordable homes.
The role of an agent is to help source or manage, protect the said building. So if you are paying, whatever you pay, you say you pay to an agent, the agent at the end point replies back to the landlord or the house owner. So if we can also say, we also have some, what I would have suggested that we were saying, agent that tells you they want to search for something for you without. But the bottom line, that agents hike in house rent, I don't believe, because where me or you stay, some people have houses, and because of the stress of talking to these tenants who in total don't help maintain a property, you handle it to a man, an agent who can help you speak and understand the language your tenant speaks, and to relieve you of their stress and burden, you give the agent to maintain. That does not give the agent the prerogative or the right to increase or decrease that house. You are now to tell the agent, this is what you collect, or agent suggests to you. They are not the owner. If tomorrow you want me to help you sell something and say you have a house, you have a land, you have a car to sell, and you give it to an agent to sell, you will tell the agent or the household that you are selling at this fixed price. There's no way agency can be bigger than the said money you are paying. It's impossible. So maybe they will not tell you are paying legal fee, you are paying agency fee, you are paying the ad fees. But if you understand the terrain, understand the system, if you pay it first, the first time, you are not going to pay that again. If you understand it, an agent does not have right to collect a legal fee.
Looking at the present state of house agents precisely in Edo State today, absolutely is not an help to a common man as he stands. In a situation where an agent will impose a fee in a house they know nothing about, and at the end of the day, the money that will be going to the landlord or either the landlady of the house will have nothing to do with that of the legal fee, so many fields to talk about. So at the end of the day, I will say from my own take, the government, if they have anything to do to make this agency to be a better regulating body, because it stands today, anybody just wake up and for any reasons nothing doing, they appear to be agents on the street. And at the same time, they don't care about the genuity of the persons they give these houses to, which at the end of the day, many of these clients bring problem to landlords and landlady. All they are after is just what they gain and what they profit at the moment.
Imagine collecting 5,000 naira inspection fees for more than 5 persons for the same apartment. Some house agents will go as far as preventing prospective tenants to have any form of contact with the landlord, making sure that rents are paid to the landlord through them. In Benin City today, looking for a house is like you going through the eye of a needle. You get to see advertorials on Facebook, WhatsApp pages, reading thus: pay 800,000 naira now. Subsequent years, you pay 500,000. In some clients, you get to hear pay 1 million naira now. Subsequently, you pay 400,000. While in some part, you're going to see pay 700 naira now. Subsequently, you pay 300,000 naira in subsequent years. Where are all these monies going to? Some agents have fashioned a weapon whereby they can even collect money more than the landowners, manipulating the system so that the landlord or landladies will not even know what is going on. Some agents also go ahead to be the middleman between the landowners, the house owners, the tenant. The tenants will be arm twisted so they can pay directly through the agent, which in turn will take out their own share according to what they call it and give the landlord or landlady a pay not compared to what they've collected. Some of these tenants don't even know their landlords or landladies. Sometimes they have to pay through the account of the agent. Just paint this picture: a tenant paying 1 million naira, or better still 800,000 naira, in some cases 600,000 naira, for the landlord to only receive 300,000 or 400 or even 500, as the case may be. The activities of these agents should be regulated. In this situation, they can choose to increase the rent paid fee on their own without giving the landlord the complete amount. Equipped with the knowledge that the tenants do not know the owners of these houses, some house agents deceitfully issue quick notice to tenants in order to bring in new tenants that will pay higher agent fees and house rent. This has in no small measure inflicts so much pains on tenants. These agents most time goes for the highest bidder, not minding what the so-called higher bidder does for a living, as long as the greed of the landlord and agents are satisfied. Hence you get to hear words like "Oga, landlord, give your house to Yahoo boys. Now Yahoo boys they pay pass." Really, these fraudsters have so much money to spend and spare. This act further compound the pains of low-income earners. The act of putting money first before personality has plunged society into chaos. You hear of kidnapping, ritual killings, and robbery in the society, all because the landlord refused to vet prospective tenants properly, all because of money and the negative influence of house agents. The government of the day should, as a matter of urgency, look into these unwholesome practices of these house agents. This set of persons should be regulated and prosecuted if they desist from this unwholesome act. The government should set up task force on accommodation and housing matters, as done in some states in Nigeria, to checkmate the unwholesome practice of these house agents and greedy landlords, so that both high and low income earners seeking accommodation can breathe. Wilson Omasho reporting.
This is ITV.
Certainly the best.
ITV. 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 Certainly the best. ITV, certainly the best.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. Welcome to another edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Omasha. We're going straight back to what is going on in Europe. Yeah, Russia and Ukraine. The war has been going on now, going to 4 years, and it's like the war seems to be not coming to an end anytime soon. People have been watching. They've been waiting. They've been looking at how things can just take a turn or take a dive for the betterment of Ukraine, because it stands right now Ukraine is a theater. Yes, they've done 1 or 2 damages to Russia, but it can be quantified to the damage done by Russia. When I talk about Ukraine, Kyiv constantly bombarded by drones. Eastern part of the country, talk about Ukraine, have been sacked by Russian forces. Zaporizhia, you know this story too well. And the pressure is mounting. And guess what? The winter is approaching. Despite the sanctions, despite all, Putin seems not to be listening to anyone. Donald did his best, but it's like his best is not good enough. What do you think Trump will do next? Donald is known to be that man, to be very, very vocal. If he says something, he's going to see it through, but this time it's like an unstable object in collision with an immovable object. So it's like cancelling out each other. Well, today is all about the war, a critical look at the theater as the winter approaches. With me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner, a legal affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Emmanuel Obakpolo. Barrister, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
It's a delight being here. Good afternoon, Wilson.
All right. Going to the 4th year right now, it's like there is no glimmer of hope, no glimmer for peace. Not even the glimmer of this olive branch to say, come to the round table, let's talk about what is happening in Ukraine, occasioned by a Russian offensive. Some are saying Russia was about fought, Russia was provoked. Had it been a year or so to be in the position of Russia, they would have done tries, even 4 times as worse as what Russia is doing. Remember when they talk about the red line in 1967 or thereabout, where Russia was going to have a base in Cuba. America said, if you draw or if you cross the red line, the world is going to bleed. And now Russia is not making the world bleed, but a country is bleeding. And it's bleeding profusely. Ukraine. Take it up from there.
Yes, and when you go back to memory lane, and before the war commenced, we saw a lot of threats by Putin, the president of Russia, wherein he even threatened with the production of a weapon called Satan II. And we thought Satan II was going to do the damage, and Putin, according to him then, he did say that he was going to release it, and when he does, that the whole world will sniff, and there is going to be a shake from the foundation of the earth. And some of us gave a different interpretation. We said, like myself, I did say that with or without Satan II, or Satan II was mere symbolic. But we have come to see that the man meant business, just like he said, but how Ukraine, on the other hand, was able to absorb the heat from Russia to this very moment is something that one may not be privy to tell how it did happen or how it went. But again, when you take a summary of the war just now, you would agree with me that Ukraine is really going through a lot of pain, being hit left, right, center. And all the promises that we saw from NATO and even from some sympathizers, European countries, from that did promise Ukraine on how they were going to be of assistance to Ukraine, perhaps to help Ukraine to absorb the heat that would come from Russia. Just now, I will tell you that that is not feasible. Though a lot of assistance was made to Ukraine, but we've also seen that on the side of Russia, who is the big brother with the big stick, they've also got some mercenaries assistance. Just now, there are allegations, even from South Africa here, that some South Africans are being involved as mercenaries for Russia. And you know, Africa being considered the dark world, there is a possibility, or there are possibilities, as the case may be, that some Africans may be the scapegoats, wherein they may be given the toga of mercenaries. Meanwhile, they are only being used as test to the war. So Africans could be disadvantaged to be used as, in quotes now, mercenaries, why it is not mercenaries, but as victims of the crisis that is going on between Russia and Ukraine, perhaps because of the kind of system we have from this part of the world. Now, going to the war proper. Just now, Russia is pushing towards the border between Ukraine and another NATO ally, Poland. And just a few hours ago, to be precise, there was a heat that hit near the border of Poland in Ukraine. And a city, one of the viable and productive city in Ukraine called Polorovsky, something like that. Yeah, is where Russia is gradually heading towards. And God forbid that Russia succeed in getting that city. Now they have Dombrowski on the Dakar. They are heading towards the region of Donbass. And if they now succeed in getting that, what is left? Because even Kiev, that is the capital of Ukraine, we've seen that Kiev has been hit severally. And just now, Ukraine is experiencing some partial darkness as it is. And these are people who have not seen anything like darkness before. But just now, they are going through a lot of heat. And like you did say, the winter is approaching. So what is going to be the fate of Ukraine? And France just promised Ukraine some 100 jet fighters. So you begin to see that Ukraine has lived on promises from European countries and NATO members. But we will not be see that force from Ukraine, because Ukraine, even from the outset of the crisis, the war, Ukraine has been a younger brother to Russia. But just now, we've seen the big stick of the elder brother on the younger one. And it's really hitting Ukraine hard. So I, for one, we thought that when Donald Trump emerges as the president of America, or immediately he was declared as the president of America, by January, where he will be sworn in, which he is now the president of America, as at that time a candidate in the election, we thought that he would come, and with his president being respected by...
we'll come to the issue of Donald Trump in course of this discussion. Now, you talked about what is really happening between these two great countries. You talked about Russia being the big brother, Ukraine the younger one. But it stands right now, one is really hammering on the other. And it's like Russia is beginning to fulfill their promise, saying that the eastern part of Ukraine, Donbass region, definitely will be part of Mother Russia, because they're responding to the cry of the citizens of Ukraine that are of Russian origin, that they want to be part of Mother Russia. Now that winter is approaching, do you see or feel anything that's going to make it difficult for Russia to outrun the Donbass region?
Yes, I think that it is going to, Russia may have a slow down towards the heat, because this is a period where any country that is involved in any crisis or war tends to slow down because of the hot and the hotness of the atmosphere at that time, or this period, so to speak. And if you look from when the war started and to this very moment, for the past 1 year now, Russia has been slow towards their bombardment, even the use of drones and other missiles that was used to prosecute the war. They've been that slow, and I think they will be slower this time, because if since the peace that was attempted to achieve was not able to achieve at this moment, it really goes to tell that Ukraine is really getting the heat. And
hold on, now you talk about Russia getting slow. Someone saying that this war, with the approach of the winter, might make Russia outrun Ukrainian forces with ease. Because they did it the other time. No gas, no electricity. They're crying for manpower and weapons, and Russia seems to be having all this at their back and core.
Yes, that is true. That even just now, we'll be able to capture situations where mercenaries from North Korea and some other sympathizers of Russia are beginning to give Russia assistance. But on the side of Ukraine, we cannot really tell if Ukraine is giving the supposed assistance as promised by NATO and other European countries that are sympathizers with Ukraine. So if Russia tries to or want to really get a hit of Ukraine at this moment, it will be devastating on Ukraine.
You just want to go for a break. When we return, we'll definitely continue with this analysis. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Igbenedion University Okada, 23rd Convocation.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, reaching you live from Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. I'm with me here in the studio is Barrister Emmanuel Obakbola. We're taking a look at the Russia-Ukraine war, a critical look at the theater. You know, the winter is fast approaching. So you're making a point when we talk about who was hit this winter.
Well, if from where I stop, if Ukraine gets the necessary support, it may not be easier for Russia to run through. But if they don't get the necessary support, Russia is going to run through Ukraine, particularly at this epoch. So what I think somebody did say, and I quite agree with the person, that peace is priceless and peace is super expensive. So if we are to go by that, I think if there's any time that the world needs to intervene to ensure that there is peace between these two brothers, okay, I think this is the moment.
Okay, fine. Now, what you said, Ukraine has been dwelling on faith promises. They talked about going to other countries, other nations for help. Promises were made, but Zelensky specifically requested for a long-range missile, weapon that could really hit the heart of Russia. Now, what do you think is impeding the country, the world, vis-a-vis the U.S. from heeding to that particular request? Ukraine said, look, if you can give us that weapon, that'll be the beginning of the end of the war. After all, able to hit Mother Russia with ease.
One is surprised that at this very moment, Zelensky is going up and down looking for assistance, despite all the promises that were made to him before the war was being prosecuted from the outset of it. Because if you look at it, I think I will give a term to Zelensky to be able to manage this war for about 4 years now or more. But again, if you want to consider the fact that when you go into war and you choose to go into war, to prosecute a war, then you must first of all count the cost of what was going to come out of that war. So just now, I think that Zelensky didn't take time to count the cost. And that is why, with all the faith promises here and there, the man is busy running up and down, looking for how he could get assistance so that he can secure his country. But I want to tell you that I think what he's just doing just now is damage control, because a lot of damage has been done to Ukraine. Ukraine is bleeding. That we must not shy from that. So if indeed that those countries, sister countries, who did promise that they were going to give assistance, were really ready to give assistance to Ukraine, why after 4 years? Why is it taking so much time? Because long-range weapon, I think Russia is using long-range weapon against Ukraine.
But no country wants to give Ukraine. They don't want to give them permission to use it. So the question now is, are these countries afraid of what Russia would do to them to give Ukraine that type of weapon?
No, it goes to tell the nature of man, generally, that man by nature can fail you by whatever promise or promises they've given to you. That is what it goes to show. That look, you must not rely on the promises of any person, be whether or not that person is close to you, whether or not that person is a brother or a sister or an uncle, whether or not that person is so special or super special to you.
No, what you should do. We're talking about international relations here, allies.
But it has failed, because even NATO, that lured Ukraine to join it, just now have failed Ukraine. And if you look at Zelensky, have been going up and down, crying, lamenting on what his country is going through, despite all the promises, all the assurances that have been made to him. Even when Donald Trump was on him, you saw the first meeting with him was a disaster, a calamity that also came out to show that, look, you need to go and count the cost again, whether you really want to, whether you intend to prosecute this war. So the war just now is shifting towards one direction. And which direction? Towards the direction of Ukraine. Ukraine is getting the hit. Zelensky is doing damage control. But the question now is, how long will he continue with this damage control? If, save that, these countries who have made promises of long-range weapon to him should be able to give to him, so that the man himself will be able to send some of these long-range weapons so to get the hit. Because where the war is balanced, then I think there will be room for peace. But just now, the war is not balanced. All right, and that is why the man is shouting.
Now, so Poland has this view that it's like even the U.S. don't want to tempt Russia, that they're afraid of Russia. That's why they're not wanting to, release the long-range weapon. Because when Putin heard of that, he gave a stern warning. If they should do it, Europe will bleed. The war, or let's say the world, might bleed. Do you see Russia feeling that threat if peradventure the US or NATO choose to supply long-range weapon to Ukraine?
You know, if NATO does supply long-range weapon to Ukraine, I see Putin slowing down. I think that will necessitate or speed up the idea or principle of peace accord. I think
Putin
so.
slowing down, getting more and more angry and doing the unthinkable. Because remember that in the course of this war, when Ukraine was like almost at the forefront, Putin signed a note of warning, and it's like they backtracked. Are they scared of the man Vladimir Putin?
I think the man is somebody that should be scared of, because somebody who has his mind at his back, his heart is at his back. Somebody who can tell you, this is what I will do, and he will do it, particularly when it comes to destruction. So that kind of person should be taken seriously. That kind of person you should soft pedal when you are handling that kind of person. But I think diplomacy was not applied in this matter. I think so. If from the outset of it there were proper diplomacy, then I think this war wouldn't have gotten to this extent. But because some persons were bent on using Ukraine as a test of the strength of Russia, have succeeded to see that what they thought was not really what they would achieve. Because just now, you use Ukraine as a bait to test the strength of Russia, and Russia has proven its strength. Yes, even despite the super nature of Russia, when you want to compare it with Ukraine, you can now see that Russia is also getting mercenaries, also getting assistance from other sympathizers with her.
So also is Ukraine.
But Ukraine is not getting...
Weapons were given to Ukraine except for the long-range weapon that can target the heart of Russia, which is the Kremlin. So why would you say that Ukraine has not been given support?
No. The assurances, the promises that were made to reach Ukraine is not being fulfilled. Ukraine is only getting the surface. When you compare the two countries, Russia and Ukraine, even before the war, you would agree that Ukraine is the big brother. There is no doubt about that. Now, when the war started with all the promises, the big brother who has the bigger strength, who has the might, the super might, is being assisted by some sympathizers of her. Then you, the small brother, is just getting a surface of the assistance that were promised her. So you cannot now say that there was equal strength in the prosecution of this war. That has been ruled out. Then, if that has been ruled out, what should Ukraine do? NATO and other European countries who have indeed made promises. You cannot fight Russia by giving short-range weapons only. Weapons to protect the boundaries or the territories of Ukraine.
But see,
you cannot only do that.
Ukrainians were given drones. How did they get the drones? They used these drones to infiltrate Russia and dealt serious blow. Don't mean according to the size of Russia, their power, their oil, you just name it. I mean, they're supposed to be given to these guys. Are you saying it's not enough?
It's not enough. Ukraine just now needs more assistance. If indeed those who wore Ukraine into this war meant well for Ukraine, they should give them long-range weapons. So that by the time Russia, because this war, the prosecution of this war is indeed in Ukraine. Russia just only got, Ukraine only made an attempt towards Russia. And immediately Russia saw that attempt, and that attempt succeeded as at that time. They quickly looked for how they could waive it.
Yeah, like countermeasures.
Yes. So they brought in countermeasures. Now they'll be able to know the strength of Ukraine and perhaps those who are in support of Ukraine. So what do we do? Change tactics. I think there is need to change the tactics here. And the way to change the tactics is the supply to Ukraine of long-range weapons. So that by the time there is heat in Moscow,
Kremlin,
there is heat in other regions of Ukraine, of Russia rather, then maybe Putin will have a rethink. If he thinks he wants to then use Satan 2 to shake the foundation of the war like he did say, then it could lead to another, it could metamorphose rather to another form of war, not Russia-Ukraine war. Maybe perhaps even Putin in his arrogance and pride is also conscious of that fact, and that is why he is only doing the taking the battle rather to Ukraine to ensure that all of this, the prosecution of this war will be in Ukraine. I will not get the hit. So by the time Ukraine is getting the hit, Ukraine may probably surrender to it.
Right.
So I think there is more that should be done for Ukraine.
We'll return after this break. We'll dive into the sanctions. The question now is sanctions being imposed on Russia because of the war prosecuted against Ukraine. Do you think this sanction is really having any effect on Russia? Remember that their major oil have been sanctioned. Doesn't mean that others are not doing business with them. We'll take a look at the impact of this sanction and how it's going to affect the war. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
ITV, certainly the best.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, reaching you live from Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. It's all about the Russia-Ukraine war, and we are taking a look at the war theater because winter is fast approaching. Of recent, Donald, President of America, chose to agree to a sanction meted on major oil giants in Russia. Some are saying that with that, it is going to weaken the financial strength of Russia to prosecute the war. But do you see that having the effect the U.S. NATO thought that that will have in the prosecution of the war against Ukraine?
No, the sanction is not enough. The sanction melted on Russia just now will not so hit Russia because already, you know, America is aware, President Donald Trump is aware that Russia has sympathizers. Example, North Korea, China, Iran. Some of these countries are holding solidarity with Russia. And not because they really like or love Russia, but because of the hate on the man called Donald Trump and also the United States of America. Because some of these countries want to rub shoulder with the United States of America. If you tell them that United States of America is the world's police, they will disagree with you that no, United States of America is not world police. But you and I know that over the years, they've been able to prove to the world that they are world police. But just now, we have some countries like China who economically, they are developing, they are growing. Yeah. So there is this temptation to say, oh, we too, we could pose a threat to become world police. So because of this political gimmick that is being played by some of these countries, these nations, you discover that there is really need for a more stronger sanction.
Like what kind of sanction? They've been sanctioning Russia to the end that Russia too got angry and sanctioned USA products also in Russia. It was sanction for sanction. You don't buy my oil, I don't buy your oil. After all, Russia, as we speak right now, is the major supplier of gas to Europe, even to Ukraine. So how are they going to hold on to that giant?
That is where I think that there is need for, outside the sanction to be meted on them, there is need to give Ukraine long-range weapons, some of those supersonic weapons, so that, because if this war continue to go the direction it is just now, then the peace is not foreseeable, and once peace is not foreseeable, meaning the war continues. Then if the war continues the way it is now, what will be the fate of Ukraine? And I think that is what other parts of the world, other superpowers should be able to come together and say, okay, if we know that this war, we cannot achieve peace, and Ukraine is getting the heat the way it is going, then let's give them all necessary support that they need and see whether that could pose as a threat to the man called Putin. And we'll be able to, maybe when Putin gets 1, 2, 3 hits, his own citizens may raise alarm and say, we are going through pains. We are going through this suffering. But look, let us see how this war could come to an end. Because just now, the people are not feeling it. And there is this rumor, if it is true, I do not know, disconnection from social media and the internet, wherein they may not even understand that there is really war between Russia and Ukraine. Because Russians know that Ukrainians are their brothers and sisters. They see themselves to be that, to that extent, they see themselves to be one. So if this war continues like this, are we saying we are going to allow Ukraine to be erased from the surface of the world? Or are we saying that Ukraine should surrender her sovereignty to Russia? Or are we saying that those who wooed Ukraine to go into this war have now lost faith in Ukraine? And if that is the situation, what should they do? So, one, if we cannot achieve peace, then let the war proper go on.
All right, you said the war proper should go on by giving Ukraine long-range missile weapons to target the heart of Russia. But Russia made just one request, so one request has many, terms and conditions. Number one, if you want the war to end, disband your military. Leave the eastern part of Ukraine, Donbass region, go home, and everything will cease. Because what is happening, it's like Putin, from reports, is beginning to cover that eastern part of Ukraine, which he said he really wants to be free. That if Ukraine should leave a particular portion for him, the war will cease. But he said he wants to create a buffer zone between the main Russia and, of course, Ukraine because of the advent of the EU. And he gave one that strong warning, don't even think about it, joining the European Union. Would this man you're seeing right now agree to that?
He will not. And I think I like the stubbornness of this man. I like his decisive nature. The man takes decision. Despite the fact that so many persons have accused him of being lackadaisical, being unreasonable in the prosecution of this war. So many persons have accused him. So many persons see him that the man is not strong enough to have gone into this war. But I think one thing about him is that the man is not lily-livered. The man is somebody who has taken his decision and stands on his decision. And I think even Putin will respect him for that. And I quote him for that because of his decisive stand on issues of international diplomacy. But again, you look at what is happening in Ukraine. Despite the decisive nature of the man, despite his political strength, despite the fact that the man will say no to what he will say no and yes to what he need to say yes to, how is he be able to prosecute the war? What is the strength of his military? Who is being hit most in this war? So when you consider some of these things, you would agree with me that Ukraine is really going through pains just now. But then, and again, is that those who woe him, again I repeat, those who woe him into the prosecution of this war have not really helped him to see how he could succeed. Though at a point, after a year, we saw that even Russia got some hits, particularly that period where they were able to penetrate the Russian territory.
And someone saying that was a time of what was the president, the one that came before Donald Trump? Joe Biden. Yes, Joe Biden, that it was like, giving them massive support. But Trump, according to report, according to speculation, choose to wither on this support.
Yes, because Trump is also considering his relationship with a man called Putin. And the one of the elections, the election before this one that brought Trump, in fact, the election that he lost, I think, or the election that he won, the first tenure.
Against Hillary Clinton?
Yes, there was an allegation that Putin helped in rigging that election. There was that allegation. What does that mean? It goes to tell you that the strong ties between those two persons. I don't really want to consider what transpired with the election results, no. But if there is a strong ties between these two persons, do you not think, or do we not think that Trump could give 100% of his support to Ukraine? The answer is a no. Because I think that if Trump finds himself in this kind of situation, quagmire, where he needed to take decision on how to invade a country called XYZ, just as Putin has invaded Ukraine, he will get the nod from Putin to so do. So there is this political arrangement, this political arithmetics between these two personalities. So that again will go on to say that was Putin really, Zelensky relying on America totally for the prosecution of the war against Russia, even when he knew that at a point the tenor of then President Joe Biden would expire. 2, the NATO was the promise and assurances given to Zelensky by NATO on 100% reliance on the United States of America. 3, well, what was the stand of European Union in the war between Russia and Ukraine? And I think that is why I said that from the outset of this program, that Zelensky did not count the cost before the prosecution of this war. If he had done that, the dimiano of the European Union, the United States of America, and NATO members would have suggested to him that, look, don't go this direction, take the other parts. But because he did not take his time to do that, he relied absolutely on the assurances and promises that he was being given by the European Union and NATO. See where he found himself. Now, you NATO, if indeed you promised this man, European Union, if indeed you promised this man that you were going to be of 100% assistance to him in the prosecution of this war, why are you relenting now? Why are you breaking that contract? Whether or not that contract was expressed or
gentlemanly agreement.
Yes, why? So it goes to tell that in anything you do as a leader, you must first consider the fate of your nation, the fate of your people, before making any agreement with any person outside your jurisdiction. Because now it's crystal clear that there is a possibility that they may fail him.
All right, well, we want to take another break. When we return, we're going to tackle this question: if Donald Trump's option for peace between Russia and Ukraine has been exhausted. Because he said if he's elected as Mr. President, the Russian war will be a thing of the past. So we are still there, and winter, they say, is coming. Do stay.
ITVN Radio 2025 9 Lessons and Carols, in conjunction with Christ Chosen Church of God International, Benin City, Edo State. Dr. Jolin Osaiguma.
ITV, certainly the best.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, and we're about commencing our today's edition. Well, Donald Trump made a promise that within how many months in office he's going to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. Has he exhausted all options? Do you feel that Trump can really do that? Because they're looking at him as a man with a magic wand.
I think that was a campaign strategy during the American election. And the man succeeded in using that to woo the hearts and the minds of Americans to succeed. But now that he has succeeded, is it easier for him to penetrate the mind and the hearts of the man called Putin to ensure that there is peace between Russia and Ukraine? The answer is a no. So that goes again to tell you that whatsoever you do, total reliance on the might and strength, wisdom, intelligence, understanding of a man may not help you. So what you need to do is to consider some other factors. Maybe again, like we Africans, we always consider the God factor. That's why you will see that somebody will tell you why Israel is being prosecuting war. Somebody here in Nigeria will tell you, oh God of Israel, come and fight for us. so
Barrister.
you see the situation we find ourselves. But that again is helping us to maintain peace, either by crook or by hook. So I want to again tell, look at this matter holistically, that Donald Trump may not really be the factor that could broker peace between Russia and Ukraine.
Then what do you think would be the factor?
Other European nations should intervene.
But they seem to be scared.
They were not scared because they wore Ukraine into this war. They weren't scared. So now, if they can see how European Union could intervene and meet maybe 50% of the conditions of the man called Putin, even if those conditions will be deemed tyrannical, I think they should see how they go. Because I tell you, my brother, Ukraine is bleeding. Ukraine is going. Are we going to be silent and pretend that nothing is happening? But when the heat is there, and you cannot see that even Ukrainians are not giving up towards their strength.
What is the world? What is this world organization doing about this? The United Nations. What are they doing about this?
Again, before now we have what is called the League of Nations.
Now we have the UN.
The League of Nations came to existence in 1919
after the
First World War. And you can see that the League of Nations died a natural death because they were not able to sustain world peace. Immediately the Second World War broke out.
Yes.
So I see it again that though the United Nations are be able to sustain all this while, we have more years of peace in the world, pretentiously anyway, than what we had.
Why would you say pretentiously?
Yes, because if you look at, we have skirmishes of war here and there.
Yeah. But not a world war, not a major war.
Not a world war.
All right.
So that is why I say pretentiously. And now we have not been able to manage that world peace that the United Nations seem to stand for or stand on, as the case may be. So if that is the situation, how do we manage what we have just now? Because the United Nations is just doing damage control, patch here, patch there. We saw the Israel Hamas, we saw Israel Iran, we saw different nations going into war. We saw China, the other small nation, no nation is small. Taiwan. We saw North Korea, South Korea, like that. Here and there, you still have skirmishes of war. So that is to tell you that anywhere man exists, there is possibility of tendency for crisis. So, but what do we do? How will they manage this situation? They should do all they can to see how they can remedy the situation by helping Ukraine. Maybe if those long-range weapons are given to Ukraine, as I did say, and there is heat at the heart of Moscow, Putin may have a rethink.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Emmanuel Obakpolo. He said the solution from from his own angle is that Ukraine should be given access to long-range weapons, missiles, Tomahawk, you just name it. But Putin said something. If that gives them that country or that individual will be in his black book. So maybe right now the fear of Putin is the beginning of wisdom in international relations. We don't know, because think about it. Ukraine really is bleeding. They've been bleeding. How come no one can say, Russia, please, enough? Or should the world now bend to the will of Putin by meeting his terms and conditions? Zelensky, disband the military, don't join NATO, leave the East, the Donbass region, go home, there'll be peace. Do you see Zelensky breaking at this point? After all, winter is approaching. Do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.
ITV, certainly the best. ITV, certainly the best. ITV, certainly